Hi guys, so Ben Habib is a Brexiteer, member of the Brexit Party, and he and a group of unionists are planning to take legal action against Boris Johnson and his government in regards to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now they want to force the government to scrap the protocol completely and replace it with something else. They haven't actually said what that something else is. But in order to have some sort of legal standing, Ben is trying to invoke the Act of Union. Now, before we start, I'm not a legal expert in any way whatsoever, and I'm not a historian. So anything I do say, please take it with a pinch of salt. But let's hear what he has to say.
Now, as some of you will know, I did a special broadcast on Saturday night in which I disclosed that Baroness Hoey, Jim Allister and myself had sent a letter before action to Brandon Lewis, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, over the Northern Irish Protocol. The purpose of the letter was to give the Secretary of State an opportunity to terminate, repudiate, ditch the Northern Irish Protocol and to replace it with a proper settlement for Northern Ireland that brings Northern Ireland into the United Kingdom again.
Brings Northern Ireland into the United Kingdom again. What does he mean by that? Because Northern Ireland is still part of the United Kingdom. In regards to goods, it's also part of the single market and the customs union. But the people of Northern Ireland have not changed, and the rules and the laws in Northern Ireland have not changed. So I'm not sure what he's talking about here.
As you might know, I have been campaigning against the Northern Irish Protocol really since the first day it was launched. And here's why. A cursory reading of that protocol makes it clear that Northern Ireland would be left behind in the European Union, subject to EU laws and subject to the supreme authority of the European Court of Justice, with a border down the Irish Sea separated from Great Britain.
Okay, but what was the alternative? The alternative was Northern Ireland and Great Britain part of the single market and the customs union, but Ben Habib didn't want that. So the other alternative was a border on the island of Ireland. Now, Brexiteers were saying that they didn't want that either, that they would never sign up to such a thing, that it wasn't necessary. I would like to ask Ben, if Ben was ever going to watch this video, did you support a border on the island of Ireland? Please tell me. I would love to know, because I don't see any other alternative here.
And in that separation, in the different constitutional setup for Northern Ireland, the Prime Minister and those who did the deal with the European Union have effectively breached the Act of Union 1800, the 1998 Northern Irish Act, which gave effect to the Belfast Agreement, and the Belfast Agreement itself.
Now, in regards to the Act, he's going to come to the 1800 Act in a moment. But in regards to the Northern Ireland, the Belfast Agreement, or the Good Friday Agreement as it's sometimes called, I don't see how this breaches it. I uploaded a video about this recently, and there's nothing in the Good Friday Agreement about a border in the Irish Sea. There's nothing in it. I can't find anything about it. I may have overlooked something, but I'm sure if there was a reference to it, then Ben would be able to pull it out and say, this is the reference to a border in the Irish Sea. There shouldn't be a border in the Irish Sea, but there's nothing in the Good Friday Agreement that points to that. There are numerous references to border posts on the island of Ireland that need to be removed, that need to be phased out.
Article 6 of the Act of Union makes it absolutely clear that Northern Ireland should have unfettered access as part of the internal market of the United Kingdom.
Now, in a sense, he's correct. So I want to show you Article 6 of the Act of Union. Now, it's important to remember that the Act of Union included Great Britain and Ireland back in 1801, and it was later amended to include Northern Ireland because Ireland became an independent country. But it says here at the very top, the subjects of Great Britain and Ireland shall be on the same footing in respect to trade and navigation, and in all treaties with foreign powers, the subjects of Ireland shall have the same privileges as British subject. So that sounds quite clear, okay? Great Britain and Ireland, the people of both countries will have the same privileges. In Northern Ireland, that's the same situation. The people of Northern Ireland have the same privileges as the people of the rest of Great Britain. Now, it's about trade. It'll give a bit more. Trade is quite just trade. It doesn't give a lot of information about trade. But I want to read this part here where it says, articles of produce or manufacture of either country subject to internal duty or to duty on the materials must be subject on importation into each country to countervailing duties, and upon upon their export a drawback of the duty shall be allowed. So this is talking about duties taking place between the two countries. Now, I'm not an expert, and maybe what I'm reading, I'm not understanding it correctly. But at the end, I don't think this is still, even if this is true, but it doesn't seem to me that it's a breach of the Act of Union, because the problem with the situation, even if you call it a problem, is that goods moving from Great Britain into Northern Ireland don't need to be checked if they're produced in the UK. And this in the Act of Union says goods produced and manufactured in either country. The problem is that if goods are coming from outside the UK and they're going to be sold on, if goods are moving from Great Britain into Northern Ireland and they're going to be sold on into the Republic of Ireland, then they need to be checked. And some of those goods have restrictions. But it's not about goods moving from Great Britain into Northern Ireland. It's not the goods themselves that's the problem. It's that some of the goods have restrictions, but you have to check all the goods when you're checking for some goods. You don't just check the only goods that need to be restricted. You have to check everything in order to find the ones that are restrictive. But there's also the issue that if goods are moving from outside Great Britain into the UK, into Great Britain, I should say, and are remanufactured and sold on, there is the issue of place of origin. So where these goods were actually produced originally. If they're produced in the UK, then there isn't a problem with them moving to Northern Ireland. But if they were produced outside the UK, then there is an issue. So I think the Act of Union only covers goods and goods produced in the UK, within the UK itself, within Great Britain and Northern Ireland, but not goods produced outside Great Britain and Northern Ireland, outside the UK. And I think that's the point that Ben is missing.
It also makes it clear that citizens in Ireland should be treated absolutely the same as citizens in Great Britain.
And they are. There's nothing in the Northern Ireland Protocol that says that citizens in Northern Ireland are treated differently to citizens in Great Britain.
There should be no differentiation between them. The Northern Irish Protocol makes a very significant differentiation, and we've seen the effects of it.
Okay, but what differentiation? You've made a statement here that it makes a differentiation, and then you move on. You don't actually give us an example. How does it make a differentiation? Yes, there are problems with certain goods, but that is not related to people. It's not related to the status of Northern Ireland. It's about these goods.
This year, when it was implemented, we've seen the difficulty that people have had sending goods to Northern Ireland, pets to Northern Ireland, indeed trading with Northern Ireland in any sense. And this is just the beginning of it. We haven't really begun to experience the full effect, and that's for two reasons. There are some grace periods still running as far as the terms of the protocol are concerned, but also we haven't seen the EU exercise its might on Northern Ireland yet. We haven't seen the ECJ's full effect yet. It's early days, but this will come.
So once again, I don't know if my criticisms are justified. I don't know if I'm actually correcting or challenging Ben here. But If Ben is raising this issue, surely other people have seen it before. And why is it only coming out now? The protocol was written over a year ago. Why is Ben and others just finding a problem with it today? Is it because we realise that there are issues on the border because Northern Ireland is within the single market and the customs union? Or is it because people didn't bother to read this? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?